My beloved child, there comes a moment in every transformation where you reach the edge of your own strength. A moment where controlling everything becomes too exhausting. A moment where carrying every burden alone becomes unbearable. A moment where your spirit quietly whispers, "I cannot do this by myself anymore." And my child, that moment is not weakness, it is surrender. As it is written, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. For so long you have tried to hold everything together by yourself. Your emotions, your future, your healing, your relationships, your fears, even your pain. You kept trying to fix what only I could heal. You kept trying to force clarity where trust was required instead. And slowly, the pressure became too heavy for your soul to carry. My beloved, I never asked you to become your own savior. I never asked you to heal yourself alone. I never asked you to carry burdens that were crushing your spirit daily. Yet, because fear convinced you that everything depended entirely on your control, you kept exhausting yourself trying to manage every outcome, trying to predict every disappointment, trying to avoid every possible heartbreak, trying to hold together things already falling apart. And my child, the harder you tried to control everything, the more anxious your spirit became. Because control often grows where trust has been wounded. You learn to overthink because life once felt unpredictable. You learn to emotionally prepare for worst-case scenarios because disappointment hurt you deeply before. You learn to carry responsibility for everyone because part of you feared what would happen if you stopped. But tonight, I am asking you to finally put those burdens down. Not tomorrow, not someday, tonight, because surrender is the doorway to peace. My beloved child, surrender does not mean giving up on your future. It means finally releasing the belief that you must carry the entire future alone. There is a difference. You can still hope, still dream, still move forward, but no longer from panic, no longer from fear, no longer from emotional survival mode. I want you to understand something important tonight. You do not have to know every answer before taking the next step. You do not have to understand the entire plan before trusting me. Remember Abraham. I called him forward before showing him the full destination. Remember Moses. The sea did not part until he stepped forward in faith. Remember Peter. The water did not become solid beneath him until he stepped out of the boat. And my beloved, your next season also requires surrender before clarity. That is why fear keeps fighting your trust so intensely. Because fear knows surrender breaks its control. When you surrender your future to me, fear loses power. When you surrender your wounds to me, shame loses power. When you surrender your need to control outcomes, anxiety loses power. And yes, surrender feels frightening at first, because wounded hearts often believe control equals safety. But control has not truly given you peace, has it? It only exhausted you. It only kept your thoughts racing constantly. It only kept your spirit trapped inside cycles of overthinking and emotional heaviness. My child, peace begins when trust becomes greater than fear. And tonight, I am teaching your soul how to trust again. Not blindly, not foolishly, but deeply, spiritually, honestly. You do not have to pretend you have no fear. Even surrendering people still feel uncertainty sometimes. But surrender means fear no longer becomes your master. Listen carefully now. Some of the things you are desperately trying to hold together are already leaving your life. And your exhaustion comes from resisting what heaven is already releasing. Certain relationships, certain expectations, certain identities, certain versions of yourself. You feel tired because part of your spirit already knows it is time to let go. But your emotions still fear the emptiness that follows surrender. My beloved, whenever I remove something, I also prepare space for something new. But empty hands are necessary before new blessings can be received. You cannot hold your future while clinging tightly to expired pain. You cannot carry peace while gripping fear constantly, and you cannot enter your next season while emotionally chained to old battles. That is why surrender matters, not because I want to take from you, but because I want to free you. My child, surrender also means forgiving yourself, and this is where many souls remain trapped. You keep asking me for forgiveness while secretly refusing to forgive yourself. You replay old mistakes repeatedly, old failures, old regrets, moments you wish you could erase, and slowly, guilt became part of your identity. But hear me clearly tonight. You are not the worst thing you ever went through. You are not the mistakes you made while wounded. You are not permanently defined by seasons where you struggled emotionally. My grace is greater than your shame, and if I am willing to restore you, why do you continue condemning yourself? My beloved, self-hatred does not produce holiness. It only produces deeper wounds. I am not calling you into endless punishment. I am calling you into healing, into freedom, into transformation. And transformation cannot fully happen while you keep chaining yourself to the past. That is why surrender includes releasing the old version of yourself too. The fearful version, the ashamed version, the constantly anxious version, the version convinced love always disappears, the version who believed peace would never last. You are becoming someone new now, not through force, not through perfection, but through surrender. My child, there are moments where surrender will feel quiet rather than dramatic. It may simply look like choosing rest instead of panic, choosing prayer instead of overthinking, choosing peace instead of reopening old wounds, choosing trust instead of trying to predict every future disaster. Small choices create deep transformation over time. And even now, your spirit is learning a new way to live. A slower way, a calmer way, a healed way. You may still have difficult days, still face uncertainty, still experience moments where fear tries returning. But surrender changes the atmosphere within your soul, because you are no longer carrying everything alone. My beloved child, this is the moment where your healing begins deepening into peace. Not temporary emotional relief, real peace. The kind that remains even when life still contains uncertainty. Because true peace is not the absence of storms. It is the presence of trust within the storm. And I am becoming that steady place for your soul now. Closer than your fear, closer than your thoughts, closer than the voices trying to discourage you. I am here. I have always been here. And tonight, your spirit is finally beginning to loosen its grip on the burdens that nearly destroyed it. So breathe deeply now. Release the pressure, release the panic, release the need to force every outcome. You do not have to carry tomorrow before it arrives. You only need to trust me for this moment, and then the next, and then the next again. Because surrender is not losing your life. It is finally allowing your life to be guided by peace instead of fear. But listen closely now, my beloved. Once surrender fully enters your heart, something unexpected begins happening. The future you thought was delayed starts moving toward you faster than you imagined. And what God reveals next will show you that heaven was preparing restoration this entire time. My beloved child, there is a future I have been quietly preparing for you behind the scenes of your pain. A future you could not fully see while you were crying through the process. A future hidden behind delays, heartbreaks, closed doors, and silent seasons. And tonight, I need you to understand something that will change the way you see your entire journey. Nothing you survived was meaningless, not one tear, not one lonely night, not one season of waiting, not one battle that almost broke your spirit. As it is written, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Romans 8:28. My child, you thought heaven was delaying your life, but heaven was building your future carefully, piece by piece, moment by moment, healing by healing. You only saw the pain, but I saw the purpose hidden inside it. You saw rejection, I saw redirection. You saw delay, I saw preparation. You saw loss, I saw a room being created for something greater. And one day soon, you will look back and realize I was protecting you in moments where you thought I was silent. My beloved, there are blessings approaching your life that your old self would not have known how to carry. That fearful version of you, that emotionally exhausted version, that wounded version constantly expecting abandonment. But now, you are changing. Your spirit is becoming stronger, calmer, wiser, more discerning. And because of that, the future prepared for you can finally begin unfolding differently. Listen carefully now. The restoration coming into your life is not superficial. I am not merely giving you temporary happiness. I am rebuilding your inner world. Your peace, your identity, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with love, your relationship with trust. Because what good is external success if your soul still feels empty inside? That is why I focused on healing you first, my child. There are moments ahead where you will suddenly realize how far you have come. Moments where situations that once destroyed your peace no longer control you the same way. Moments where you notice yourself responding with wisdom instead of panic. Moments where your heart feels lighter without needing constant validation from others. And in those quiet realizations, you will understand that healing truly happened. Not all at once, but slowly, faithfully, deeply. My beloved, I know there were seasons where you believed your best days were already behind you. You became so tired emotionally that imagining a peaceful future felt almost impossible. You learned how to survive pain, but forgot how to expect joy. And because disappointment repeated itself for so long, hope began feeling dangerous. But hear me clearly tonight, your future is not cursed. Your life is not ruined. Your story is not ending in exhaustion. There is still beauty ahead of you, still laughter ahead of you, still peace ahead of you, still genuine love ahead of you, still purpose ahead of you. You are not too late for restoration. My child, some of the things you lost will not return exactly the way they were before. And that is because I do not only restore, I transform. There are relationships you once begged to keep that no longer match your healed spirit. There are dreams that evolve during the process. There are desires changing inside you because your soul is awakening to deeper things now. And though you once feared change, you are beginning to understand that transformation was necessary. Because I was not trying to return you to your old life. I was preparing you for a new one, a more peaceful one, a more aligned one, a more honest one. A life where your spirit no longer survives on emotional chaos. My beloved child, I know you still carry moments of uncertainty sometimes. Part of you still fears disappointment returning. Part of you still wonders whether peace can truly last, because wounded hearts become cautious. But healing is teaching you something important now. Not every season will look like your past. You are no longer trapped inside old cycles. The chains are breaking, the old patterns are losing power, and heaven is preparing a future that does not resemble the pain you came from. Do you understand now why the enemy fought you so intensely? Because if you ever fully realized what was waiting ahead, you would never surrender to hopelessness again. The enemy wanted you to quit before the breakthrough arrived. He wanted exhaustion to stop your transformation midway. He wanted your wounds to define your identity forever. But my beloved, you survived. And survival was only the beginning. Now restoration begins. Real restoration. The kind that reaches the hidden places inside your soul. The places nobody else fully sees. The places where fear once lived. The places where shame once whispered constantly. The places where loneliness convinced you that you would always feel emotionally disconnected. I am entering those places now with peace, with healing, with light. My child, there will come a moment soon where you suddenly recognize that the heaviness no longer controls you. not because life became perfect overnight, but because your spirit became anchored differently. You will notice yourself breathing easier, sleeping more peacefully, thinking more clearly, loving yourself more honestly. And in those moments, gratitude will quietly replace survival mode. You will realize how much strength it took to survive the old version of your life, and you will finally stop blaming yourself for seasons that wounded you deeply. Because healing also brings compassion toward yourself. My beloved, there are people you have not met yet who will experience peace simply because you chose healing instead of bitterness. Your transformation is larger than you realize. The wisdom gained through your suffering will help others one day. The compassion developed through your loneliness will comfort others one day. The battles you survived will become proof that restoration is possible. Nothing was wasted. Nothing. Even now, heaven is weaving your story into something meaningful beyond what you can currently understand. My child, some blessings approaching your life will arrive unexpectedly. Moments you prayed for long ago suddenly appearing when you least expect them. Doors opening naturally, opportunities aligning peacefully, connections entering your life without constant confusion attached to them. And because you spent so long fighting for survival, receiving peace may initially feel unfamiliar. But do not sabotage what heaven sends simply because chaos once felt normal. That is important. Many people miss blessings because they mistake peace for boredom. They become uncomfortable when relationships feel stable. They distrust calm because they were conditioned by emotional instability. But your healing is teaching you to recognize healthy peace, teaching you that love does not always arrive through confusion, teaching you that real peace feels gentle instead of draining. My beloved child, your future will not require you to destroy yourself emotionally in order to maintain it. The life I am preparing for you carries peace with it. Not perfection, but peace. And peace will become your new normal. Listen carefully now. There are still moments ahead where fear may try whispering again. Moments where old wounds attempt resurfacing. But you are no longer the same person who entered this journey. Your spirit has awakened. Your discernment has sharpened. Your relationship with yourself is changing. And most importantly, your relationship with me is deepening. You no longer seek me only for rescue. You are beginning to seek me for relationship, for closeness, for peace, for truth. And that intimacy is what will sustain you in every future season. My beloved, the future you cried for during your darkest nights is already moving toward you. Quietly, powerfully, steadily, even now. And one day soon, you will finally understand why certain prayers took time, why certain people had to leave, why certain doors remained closed, why certain battles became necessary. Because every painful chapter was slowly leading you towards the life your spirit was truly meant to live. So breathe deeply now. Release the fear that your future is ruined. Release the belief that peace is impossible for you. Release the lie that your life will always feel this heavy. Because heaven has already begun restoring what pain tried to steal from you. And my beloved child, the final truth I am about to reveal may completely change the way you see this entire message forever. My beloved child, after everything you have heard tonight, there is one final truth I need you to carry deep within your spirit. You were never alone, not in the beginning, not in the middle of the battle, not during the nights where your tears soaked your pillow in silence, not during the moments where your faith became weak, not during the seasons where life felt unbearably heavy. I was there through all of it, and I am still here now. As it is written, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. My child, there were many times you believed your story was falling apart. You thought the heartbreak destroyed you. You thought the waiting delayed you forever. You thought the loneliness meant you had been forgotten. But tonight, you finally understand something differently. Every painful season carried hidden purpose. Every battle shaped something within you. Every delay protected something you could not yet see. Even now, while listening to these words, pieces of your spirit are reconnecting in ways you cannot fully explain. Because this message was never random. This moment was never random. You kept asking heaven for a sign, a confirmation, a reason to keep believing. And my beloved child, this message became the answer you were praying for. Not because these are merely words on a screen, but because your spirit recognized something eternal moving through them. That quiet feeling in your chest, that deep emotion rising within you, that sense that somehow these words understood hidden parts of your life nobody else fully sees. That was not coincidence. That was your spirit recognizing my presence. My child, I know there are still questions you carry, still uncertainties, still moments where fear tries whispering about the future. But you are no longer the same person who first began listening tonight. Something shifted inside you, maybe quietly, maybe gently, but truly. Because once light enters darkness, darkness can never remain exactly the same again. And my beloved, light has already entered your spirit. You may not feel fully healed yet. You may still have difficult days ahead. You may still face moments where old wounds try resurfacing. But healing has already started. The chains are already weakening. The transformation is already unfolding, quietly, powerfully, irreversibly. My child, one day you will look back at this season with completely different eyes. The season you once called destruction, you will eventually call preparation. The season you once called abandonment, you will eventually call protection. The season you once called suffering, you will eventually realize became the birthplace of your transformation. Because pain did not get the final word over your life, I did. And my words over you have always been greater than fear, greater than rejection, greater than shame, greater than your past. My beloved child, there are beautiful moments still waiting ahead of you. Moments where peace suddenly feels natural again. Moments where your heart laughs without forcing it. Moments where you wake up and no longer feel emotionally trapped inside survival mode. Moments where you realize you finally stopped blaming yourself for everything that hurt you. Moments where healthy love enters your life without constant confusion attached to it. Moments where your spirit finally feels safe again. And when those moments arrive, you will understand why I never allowed you to give up completely. Because your future was always worth fighting for. My child, do not return to the version of yourself that believed hopelessness was normal. Do not rebuild connections that destroy your peace. Do not reopen doors I closed for your protection. And most importantly, do not forget how far you have already come. You survived battles people never even knew you were fighting. You carried pain silently while still trying to love others. You kept moving forward while secretly exhausted inside. And somehow, despite everything, you are still here, still listening, still hoping, still searching for peace. That alone is proof that I have been sustaining you all along. My beloved, there is no shame in your healing journey, no shame in your tears, no shame in your struggles, no shame in the fact that some days were harder than others. Because transformation is not perfection. Transformation is the process of slowly becoming free, and freedom is already unfolding within you now. Listen carefully one last time tonight. You are not forgotten. You are not too damaged. You are not behind in life. You are not disqualified from love. You are not abandoned by heaven. You are not fighting this battle alone. I have been walking beside you through every moment. Even when you could not feel me, even when your faith became tired, even when darkness tried convincing you otherwise, I never left, not once. My child, there are still doors waiting to open, still blessings waiting to arrive, still prayers waiting to be answered in ways greater than you imagined. But before all of that, I needed your spirit to awaken first. I needed you to remember who you truly are beneath the wounds. Not a victim of your past, not a prisoner of fear, not someone destined to repeat endless pain, but someone chosen for restoration, chosen for healing, chosen for purpose, chosen for peace. And now, your soul is finally beginning to believe that again. My beloved child, when this video ends, do not return immediately to fear. Do not let the noise of the world steal what your spirit felt here tonight. Protect your peace, protect your healing, protect the quiet transformation already happening inside you. Stay close to me, speak with me often. Bring me your fears instead of hiding them. Bring me your questions instead of carrying them alone. Because I am not distant from your life. I am deeply present within it, closer than your next breath, closer than your next thought, closer than the fear trying to discourage you. And as you continue walking forward with me, you will begin seeing signs that your season is truly changing. The heaviness will lift, the confusion will clear, the fear will loosen its grip, and peace, real peace, will slowly become your new normal. So tonight, my beloved child, rest your weary soul. You no longer have to carry tomorrow alone. You no longer have to survive every battle by yourself. You no longer have to live trapped inside the old version of your life, because your darkest season is ending, and I am walking with you into the future I prepared long before you were afraid. If this message touched your spirit, type Amen in the comments. Share this message with someone who needs hope tonight, and subscribe so you remain connected to these words of healing, peace, and restoration. My beloved child, this is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your transformation. My beloved child, before you close this video, before distraction pulls your attention away, before your mind tells you this is just another ordinary message, listen carefully to me now, because this moment is not accidental. You did not arrive here by chance. There is a reason your heart paused here tonight. There is a reason these words found you at this exact moment in your life. And deep within your spirit, you already feel it. Something is shifting, something you cannot fully explain yet. My child, I know how tired you have become. I know there are nights when your thoughts refuse to let you rest. Nights where your body is exhausted, but your soul keeps carrying burdens no one else can see. You smile in front of people while silently fighting battles within yourself. You tell others you are fine while your heart quietly whispers, I cannot keep carrying this alone. But I heard every silent cry, even the ones you never spoke aloud, even the prayers that dissolved into tears before words could form. I was there. I have always been there. And tonight, I need you to understand something important. The season you are standing in right now is not the end of your story. It is the interruption before the transformation. Yes, my child, an interruption, because I am stepping into the middle of the fear that has controlled you for too long. I am stepping into the middle of the confusion, the exhaustion, the disappointment, the loneliness you tried so hard to hide from everyone around you. And before this night is over, something inside you will begin to awaken again. But listen closely now. Do not treat this moment casually. Do not scroll away too quickly, because the enemy has spent a long time trying to convince you that nothing will ever change, that you will always feel this heavy, that your prayers are unnoticed, that your future has already been decided by your failures, your pain, or your past mistakes. But those whispers were never the truth. My beloved child, I never abandoned you. Not during the nights you cried alone. Not during the moments you questioned your worth. Not during the seasons where doors kept closing and hope felt farther away each day. I was still walking beside you even when you could not feel my presence. And tonight, I am calling you closer again. Closer than fear, closer than doubt. Closer than the voices that keep telling you to give up. Because there is something you do not yet see. What felt like delay was preparation. What felt like silence was protection. And what felt like rejection was often my hand preventing you from walking into places that would have destroyed your peace. You may not fully understand that yet, but soon you will. My child, there are moments in life that appear ordinary on the outside but carry eternal significance within them. This is one of those moments. You thought you were simply watching another video, but heaven saw this moment long before you arrived here. As it is written, before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Isaiah 65:24. I heard your heart before you ever pressed play. I saw the hidden exhaustion within you. I saw the questions you never asked out loud because you were afraid of the answers. I saw the disappointment you buried deep inside yourself after waiting so long for things to change. And still, I stayed close because, my child, your story is not over. This current chapter is not your final destination. There is still healing coming. There is still restoration coming. There is still peace your soul has not experienced yet. But first, I need you to stop running from your pain. You have spent so much time pretending to be strong, pretending the heartbreak did not affect you, pretending the betrayal did not wound you, pretending the loneliness did not slowly drain your spirit. Yet every burden you hide continues to grow heavier within you. And tonight, I am asking you to stop carrying it alone. Bring it to me. Bring me the fear you never talk about. Bring me the anxiety that keeps you awake. Bring me the disappointment you still replay in your mind. Bring me the exhaustion of trying to survive every day while secretly feeling empty inside. You do not have to clean yourself before coming closer to me. You do not have to become perfect before I love you. You are already loved, even now, especially now. My beloved child, there is a reason your spirit has felt restless lately. A reason things no longer satisfy you the way they once did. A reason your soul keeps searching for something deeper. It is because I am awakening you, quietly, gently, slowly pulling you away from the version of yourself that learned to survive without peace. Because survival is not the same as living. And I created you for more than endless exhaustion. I created you for purpose, for peace, for restoration, for love that does not disappear when life becomes difficult. But listen carefully. The next season of your life cannot begin while you continue holding onto the weight of the old one. That pain you keep revisiting, that regret you keep replaying, that fear you keep feeding. It is exhausting your spirit. And tonight I am asking you to release it, not because your pain was insignificant, but because I never intended for pain to become your permanent home. Do you understand, my child? You were not created to live trapped inside survival mode forever. You were not created to constantly fear the future. You were not created to carry shame like chains around your soul. You were created to walk in freedom. And even now, freedom is quietly moving toward you, though you cannot fully see it yet. But this is only the beginning, because what I reveal next will change the way you understand everything you have been through. The tears, the delays, the heartbreak, the waiting, none of it was meaningless. None of it escaped my sight. And soon you will begin to see how I was working behind every moment you thought was empty. My beloved child, stay with me now. Do not let distraction steal this message from your spirit, because there is a breakthrough unfolding beneath the surface of your life already. Even if your eyes cannot see it yet, even if your emotions still feel uncertain, even if your heart still carries questions, I am moving quietly, powerfully, and this night marks the beginning of a new chapter within you. A chapter where fear no longer controls your future. A chapter where your hidden wounds begin to heal. A chapter where your soul finally realizes you were never abandoned. You were being prepared. Prepared for a transformation greater than you imagined. Prepared for a peace deeper than temporary happiness. Prepared for a future that will make sense of the seasons that almost broke you. And one day soon, my child, you will look back at this very moment and realize this was not just another night. This was the night heaven interrupted your despair. This was the night your spirit began awakening again. This was the night I reminded you that I never stopped loving you. So breathe deeply now, quiet your racing thoughts, and let these words settle into the deepest part of your heart. You are not forgotten. You are not alone, and your breakthrough has already begun. My beloved child, there is something you must understand tonight. Just because no one else noticed your pain does not mean I did not see it. I saw every hidden battle, every silent breakdown, every moment you locked yourself away from the world because you were too exhausted to explain what was happening inside your heart. People saw your smile, but I saw the heaviness behind it. People heard you say, "I'm okay," but I heard the trembling in your spirit. I know there were nights when you laid awake staring into the darkness, replaying conversations in your mind, wondering why certain people hurt you so deeply. I know there were mornings when getting out of bed already felt like carrying a mountain on your shoulders. And I know there were moments when you secretly wondered if anyone would truly understand the weight you have been carrying for so long. But my child, I understood. I always understood. Even when you could not find the words, even when your prayers became silence, even when your faith felt weak and distant, I stayed beside you through every moment of it. As it is written, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Psalm 34:18. You were never abandoned in your suffering, not once. You simply could not yet see what I was doing behind the pain, because what almost broke you was also shaping you. I know that is difficult for you to understand right now. When the tears felt endless, when disappointment kept repeating itself, when people walked away without explanation, when the loneliness became so familiar that it started feeling normal, you wondered how any of it could possibly have purpose. But listen carefully now, my beloved. The enemy wanted your suffering to convince you that you were forgotten. He wanted the delays to make you bitter. He wanted the betrayals to make you stop trusting. He wanted the exhaustion to make you stop believing that your future could still change. Because if he could convince you to lose hope, he could keep you trapped in survival mode forever. But I never intended for your pain to destroy you. I intended to use it to awaken you. There are parts of your spirit that could only grow through the very battles you prayed to escape. The compassion within you, the wisdom within you, the discernment within you, the quiet strength you do not even recognize yet. All of it was being formed in hidden places. My child, I know how many times you cried privately after pretending to be strong for everyone else. You became the safe place for others while secretly feeling like you had nowhere to rest yourself. You listened to everyone else's problems while silently carrying wounds no one asked about. And eventually, your soul became tired. Not physically tired, soul tired. The kind of exhaustion sleep cannot fix. The kind of weariness that settles deep inside the heart after too many disappointments. But even there, I remained with you. Even in the moments where you felt emotionally numb. Even in the moments where you questioned your worth. Even in the moments where you wondered if your life would ever truly become peaceful again. I never stopped watching over you. My beloved child, do you remember the times you almost gave up completely? The moments where you whispered, "I cannot do this anymore." You thought nobody heard those words, but heaven heard every single one, and still, I carried you through. There were dangers you never saw, breakdowns you narrowly survived, decisions you almost made that would have led you into deeper pain. Yet somehow, something kept protecting you. Something kept stopping you from completely falling apart. That was me. Even when your faith became weak, I remained faithful to you. Even when you stopped believing in yourself, I never stopped believing in who you could become. But listen closely now. There is something important you still do not fully realize. The season that hurt you the most also revealed who truly belonged in your life. Pain uncovered what comfort used to hide. Some people only loved the version of you that benefited them. Some people only stayed while you were easy to handle. Some disappeared the moment you needed support yourself. And yes, my child, That wounded you deeply because you loved sincerely, you gave sincerely, you stayed loyal even when others did not deserve it. And part of you still struggles to understand why people you cared about could suddenly become distant, cold, or unrecognizable. But hear me carefully tonight. Not every loss was punishment. Some losses were protection. Some endings were necessary. Some people had to leave because they could not follow you into the next chapter I am preparing for you. You keep grieving doors that I intentionally closed. You keep revisiting relationships that were draining the life from your spirit. But my child, if I removed something from your life, there was a reason. Because I can see what you cannot yet see. I know what would have happened if certain people stayed. I know how much longer your soul would have suffered. I know the hidden damage that continued attachment would have caused. And because I love you, I interrupted it. Even when it hurt, even when you cried over it, even when you misunderstood my silence, I was still protecting your future. My beloved child, I know you sometimes compare yourself to others and wonder why their lives seem easier. You wonder why some people appear blessed while you continue walking through long seasons of waiting. But you are measuring your story too early. You are standing in the middle of the process and calling it the ending. What you do not yet realize is that I have been building something deeper within you than temporary comfort. Because comfort alone cannot sustain a soul. Only truth can. And through every battle, I have been teaching you truths you could never learn through easy seasons. You learned how fragile human approval can be. You learned how quickly worldly security disappears. You learned how deeply your soul needs peace that does not depend on circumstances. And most importantly, you learned that even when everything around you changes, I remain. My child, I know there are still wounds inside you that you try not to touch, memories that still sting, words spoken over you that continue echoing in your mind, moments of rejection that quietly shaped how you see yourself. And sometimes, you still hear those voices telling you that you are not enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough, not worthy enough, not important enough. But those voices never came from me, because I never created you to live imprisoned by self-hatred. You are not a mistake. You are not forgotten. You are not too damaged for restoration. My beloved, you survived seasons that should have destroyed you. And even though you call yourself weak, you are still standing. That alone should tell you something powerful. You are stronger than you realize. Not because of your own strength, but because I have been sustaining you this entire time. Even now, while listening to these words, your spirit is beginning to remember something it almost forgot. Hope, not loud hope, not perfect hope, but the quiet kind that slowly starts breathing again after believing everything was over. And this is only the beginning, because soon you will understand why the battle became so intense before your breakthrough. Soon, you will understand why darkness fought so hard to keep you discouraged. Soon, you will see that heaven was never ignoring you. Heaven was preparing you, preparing your heart, preparing your spirit, preparing your future. But what God reveals next will change the way you see every battle you have faced until now. My beloved child, there is a reason the battle around your life has felt so intense. There is a reason peace has sometimes seemed so difficult to hold on to. There is a reason fear keeps trying to return the moment you begin hoping again. Because the struggle you have been facing was never only physical, it was spiritual. There has been a war around your mind, your heart, your future, and your identity for far longer than you realized. As it is written, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. Ephesians 6:12. My child, many times you blamed yourself for battles that were never entirely your fault. You called yourself weak because anxiety kept returning. You called yourself broken because sadness lingered longer than expected. You questioned your worth because confusion clouded your thoughts. But you did not fully understand what was happening beneath the surface. The enemy understood something about you that you did not yet understand about yourself. He saw purpose inside you before you saw it. He saw potential inside you before you believed it. And because of that, he tried to exhaust you before you could step fully into who you were created to become. Why do you think the attacks intensified every time you got closer to healing? Why do you think discouragement appeared every time you started rebuilding hope? Why do you think fear whispered loudest whenever you began moving forward again? Because darkness fights hardest against people carrying light. And my beloved child, whether you realize it or not, you carry light within you. Not because you are perfect, not because you never struggle, but because I placed something eternal inside your spirit. Something the enemy hoped you would never discover. There were moments you thought you were simply overthinking, but sometimes the heaviness you felt came from a spiritual burden trying to convince you that you would never escape your pain. There were moments where hopelessness wrapped around your thoughts so tightly that even simple tasks became exhausting. Moments where you felt emotionally disconnected from everyone around you. Moments where your own mind became a battlefield. And still, you survived. Do you understand how significant that is? You survived battles people never even knew you were fighting. You kept going while silently carrying emotional storms within yourself. You kept showing up while fighting thoughts that tried to convince you to disappear. And my child, I need you to hear this clearly tonight. The fact that you are still here means the enemy failed. You may feel wounded, you may feel tired, you may still feel uncertain, but you are still standing, and that terrifies darkness more than you know. Because every day you continue moving forward is proof that I have not left you. My beloved child, there were unseen moments where I protected you from things you never even noticed. Conversations that could have destroyed your peace. Relationships that would have damaged your future. Decisions that could have led you into deeper pain. You thought certain opportunities slipping away meant I had abandoned you, but often I was shielding you. There are battles I fought for you without your awareness. Nights where heaven stood between you and destruction while you slept unaware. Moments where I whispered strength into your spirit just to help you survive another day. And still, you kept believing you were alone. But you were never alone, not for a single moment. My child, I know how exhausting it became trying to fight invisible battles. One day feeling hopeful, the next day feeling completely drained again. One moment believing life might finally improve, then suddenly feeling fear return without warning. And because you could not always explain it, you started blaming yourself. But spiritual warfare often works quietly. It attacks your thoughts before your circumstances. It attacks your confidence before your calling. It attacks your identity before your breakthrough. Because if the enemy can convince you that you are powerless, you will stop walking toward the future waiting for you. That is why the voices around you became so cruel at times. You are too late. You are not enough. Nothing will ever change. You will always be this way. But my beloved, none of those voices came from me, because my voice does not speak hopelessness. My voice brings life. My voice restores. My voice reminds you that your story is still unfolding, even now, especially now. Listen carefully. The warfare intensified because your next season is closer than you think. The enemy attacks hardest before breakthrough. That is why your spirit has felt pulled between fear and expectation lately. Part of you senses change coming. Part of you feels something shifting. But another part of you remains terrified of disappointment. And that inner conflict has exhausted you. You want to trust again, but you are afraid to hope too much. You want to believe healing is possible. But past pain keeps whispering warnings into your heart. Still, I am asking you not to let fear make decisions for your future anymore, because fear has stolen enough from you already. Fear stole your sleep. Fear stole your peace. Fear stole opportunities you were ready for. Fear convinced you to shrink yourself just to avoid being hurt again. But my child, you were not created to live trapped inside fear. You were created to walk in freedom, and tonight, chains are beginning to break that you cannot even see yet. The heaviness over your spirit is not permanent. The confusion clouding your mind is not permanent. The sadness you secretly carry is not permanent. I am already moving within places you thought would never heal. But there is something important you must understand now. The battle was never proof that I abandoned you. The battle was proof that your life carries significance. Ordinary people do not face extraordinary resistance. The intensity of the warfare around your life was connected to the weight of your purpose. The enemy does not waste energy attacking empty destinies. And deep down, you have always sensed that your life was meant for more, even when you doubted yourself. Even when others underestimated you. Even when your circumstances looked small. There has always been a quiet voice within you whispering, "There must be more than this." That whisper came from me because I did not create you merely to survive life. I created you to transform through it. My beloved child, some of the greatest battles you faced were actually preparing you to help others one day. The pain that taught you compassion, the rejection that taught you discernment, the loneliness that taught you how deeply souls need love, the anxiety that taught you dependence on me, none of it was meaningless. Even now, I am turning your wounds into wisdom, and one day, people will find healing through the very battles you survived. But first, you must stop seeing yourself as defeated. You are not defeated. You are under construction. You are in transition. You are healing in ways you cannot fully measure yet. And though darkness tried to convince you that your life was falling apart, heaven says your life is being rebuilt. Stronger, wiser, deeper, closer to purpose than ever before. So breathe again, my child. You do not need to fear every battle anymore, because I am fighting beside you. Even when your emotions feel unstable, I remain steady. Even when your thoughts become noisy, my voice remains true. Even when you feel too weak to continue, my strength is still carrying you, and soon, very soon, you will begin to understand why the enemy tried so desperately to stop you before this next season arrived. But first, there is something God must reveal about the waiting season that almost broke your faith completely. My beloved child, I know there were many moments where you questioned my timing, moments where you prayed and heard nothing, moments where you waited so long that hope itself began to feel painful. You asked me questions in the quiet that nobody else heard. Why is this taking so long? Why does everyone else seem to move forward while I remain stuck? Why do doors keep closing? Why does my life feel delayed? And my child, I heard every one of those questions. Even the ones you asked with tears, even the ones you whispered in frustration, even the ones spoken through silence alone. But listen carefully tonight. Your waiting season was never punishment. It was preparation. As it is written, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. You believed the waiting meant nothing was happening, but beneath the surface, everything was happening. I was preparing places your eyes could not yet see, preparing people, preparing doors, preparing your spirit, preparing your heart for blessings that would have crushed the old version of you. Because, my child, if I had released certain things too early, they would have become burdens instead of blessings. You prayed for increase, but your soul first needed healing. You prayed for open doors, but your discernment first needed sharpening. You prayed for love, but your heart first needed restoration from the wounds that taught you to settle for less than you deserved. The waiting was never wasted, even when it hurt, even when it confused you, even when it exhausted your faith. My beloved child, there were seasons where I intentionally slowed your life down because your spirit was too wounded to carry what was coming next. You thought the delays meant I forgot you, but sometimes delays are mercy in disguise. There were things you begged me for that would have destroyed your peace had they arrived too soon. people you chased who would have broken your spirit even deeper, opportunities you thought you missed that would have led you far away from your purpose, places you wanted to enter that were never aligned with your future. But because you could not yet see the full picture, you mourned what heaven was protecting you from. And still, I remained patient with your pain, because I knew one day you would understand. My child, waiting seasons reveal what truly lives inside the heart. Waiting reveals fears hidden beneath confidence. Waiting exposes attachments you did not realize controlled you. Waiting teaches whether your trust depends on immediate results or on me. And I know there were moments where the silence became almost unbearable. Moments where you looked around and wondered if your life would ever move forward again. You watched others celebrate while secretly fighting disappointment within yourself. You smiled for people while quietly wondering when your own breakthrough would finally arrive. And eventually, part of you became afraid to hope too much anymore, because disappointment repeated itself too many times. You started protecting yourself emotionally by expecting less, dreaming less, trusting less, believing less. But my beloved, I never asked you to bury your hope. I only asked you to place your hope in the right hands. Because human timing often rushes toward things that temporary emotions desire. But my timing protects eternal things within you. Do you understand, my child? I was not trying to deny you. I was trying to prepare you. There is a difference. The farmer does not plant seeds one day and expect harvest the next morning. Roots must first grow in hidden places. And hidden growth is still growth, even when nobody sees it, even when nothing outward appears to change. Your spirit was developing roots during the waiting season. Roots of wisdom, roots of endurance, roots of discernment. Roots deep enough to survive the storms connected to your future calling. Because what I am bringing into your life next cannot be sustained by shallow foundations. And my beloved child, there were also things inside you that needed to break before your next season could begin. The fear of rejection, the dependence on human approval, the belief that your worth depended on success, the need to control every outcome. Waiting exposed those hidden chains, and though painful, exposure is often the beginning of healing. You thought the waiting season was killing you, but in truth, it was transforming you. There are versions of yourself you are slowly outgrowing right now. Versions built from survival, versions shaped by fear, versions taught to expect abandonment. And though transformation feels uncomfortable, it is necessary. Because the future prepared for you requires a healed spirit, not just answered prayers. Listen closely now. The enemy wanted the waiting season to make you quit. He wanted exhaustion to convince you that nothing would ever change. He wanted repeated disappointments to make you emotionally numb. Because if he could kill your expectation, he could keep you trapped forever in the middle of transition. But my child, you are still here, still listening, still searching for hope, still fighting to believe even after everything you survived. And heaven sees that, heaven honors that. Even your smallest remaining faith matters to me. As it is written, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed. Matthew 17:20. You keep judging yourself for not being stronger, yet you do not realize how much strength it already took simply to survive what you survived. Some people would have completely surrendered under the weight you carried. But somehow, even wounded, you kept moving. That was not weakness, that was grace sustaining you. My beloved child, the waiting season also taught you who truly walks beside you. When blessings disappeared, when your energy became low, when life stopped looking impressive, certain people disappeared too. And though that rejection hurt deeply, it revealed truths you needed to see. Not everyone assigned themselves permission to stay in your future. Some people loved convenience more than connection. Some loved what you provided more than who you truly were. But I removed what could not grow with you. Even when it broke your heart temporarily, Because your next season requires peace more than performance. It requires alignment more than approval. It requires depth more than appearances. And slowly, you are beginning to understand that now. But listen carefully, my beloved, the waiting season is ending. Not because you became perfect, not because you finally earned love, not because you stopped struggling, but because transformation has already begun within you. The version of you entering this next season is wiser than before, more discerning than before, more spiritually awake than before. You are no longer the same person who entered the wilderness. The waiting changed you, and soon you will realize why heaven refused to let you settle for smaller things, because what is coming carries more purpose than you imagined. But before the breakthrough fully arrives, there is one dream buried deep inside you that God is about to awaken again, and this next part may completely change how you see your future. If you still believe God has not forgotten your season of waiting, type Amen in the comments and subscribe to stay connected to these messages of hope and restoration. Because your story is not over yet, my child, not even close. My beloved child, there is something hidden deep within your heart that you stopped speaking about a long time ago. A dream, a hope, a vision for your life that once burned brightly inside you. There was a time when you believed things would become different, a time when your spirit carried expectation. You imagined healing, you imagined peace. You imagined becoming the version of yourself you knew existed somewhere deep inside. But life happened. Disappointment happened, delay happened, people happened, and slowly, the dream began fading beneath the weight of reality. You stopped talking about it because it hurt too much to hope again. You buried it quietly where nobody else could see it. Even you tried to stop thinking about it, because every time hope returned, fear immediately followed behind it. Fear of disappointment, fear of rejection, fear that maybe you were asking for too much, fear that maybe your moment would never come. So instead of risking another heartbreak, you learned to survive without expectation. But listen carefully tonight, my beloved. What you buried is not dead. It is waiting, as it is written, Lazarus, come forth. John 11:43. The same voice that called life out of the grave is still speaking over your future now. And what appears lifeless to human eyes is never beyond my reach. My child, you thought silence meant abandonment. You thought delay meant denial. You thought because nothing changed immediately, the promise had disappeared forever. But heaven does not measure time the way human fear does. There are things I allow to rest underground before bringing them back stronger than before. Seeds buried beneath the soil look dead to people who do not understand growth. Yet hidden beneath the darkness, life is quietly developing. Roots are forming. Strength is forming. Preparation is happening in places no one can see. And my beloved, that is exactly what has been happening within you. The dream you buried has been growing roots in secret places, even during your hardest seasons, even while you cried, even while you doubted yourself, even while you questioned whether your life would ever truly change. I was still working beneath the surface. My child, I know there were moments you became embarrassed by your own hope. You looked around and saw others moving forward while your life seemed paused. You watched people receive what you had prayed for. You watched doors open for others while yours remained closed. And eventually, comparison exhausted your spirit. You began wondering if maybe blessings were meant for everyone except you. But hear me clearly tonight. Your delay was not your rejection. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified from the future I spoke over your life. You simply cannot see the full picture yet. My beloved child, some dreams had to be purified before they could fully bloom, because not every dream begins from a healed heart. Some of your desires were connected to wounds you had not yet faced. You wanted certain relationships because you feared loneliness. You chased certain achievements because you hoped success would finally make you feel worthy. You sought validation from people because deep inside you still doubted your own value. But I love you too much to build your future on broken foundations. So before certain blessings arrived, healing had to happen first. Do you understand now? The delay was not punishment. It was protection. Because if I had given you everything when you first demanded it, you would have entered your next season carrying unresolved pain into places meant for peace. And pain carried into blessing eventually turns blessing into burden. So I waited, not because I forgot you, but because I was healing parts of you that your future depends on. My child, there are dreams inside you that still belong to your destiny. Dreams you assumed were over. Dreams you stopped praying about. Dreams you buried beneath disappointment, yet heaven never buried them. I still remember every tear connected to those prayers, every sleepless night. Every moment you whispered, maybe it's too late for me. And tonight, I am asking you to stop speaking death over what I still call alive, because your story is not finished, not even close. There is still purpose unfolding in places you thought were empty. There is still life growing where you only saw delay. And yes, I know trusting again feels difficult, because disappointment taught you to guard your heart carefully. You became afraid of expecting too much, afraid of believing too deeply, afraid of reopening wounds that never fully healed. But my beloved, fear was never meant to become your protector. Fear only keeps you emotionally trapped inside old seasons. You cannot step into restoration while constantly expecting destruction. You cannot receive peace while feeding hopelessness every day. And that is exactly why darkness fought so hard to kill your expectation. Because expectation is connected to faith, and faith terrifies the enemy. The moment you begin believing again, the moment your spirit starts awakening again, the moment hope starts breathing again, heaven begins moving in ways you cannot yet see. My beloved child, there were many times you misunderstood what was happening in your life. You thought closed doors meant failure, but some closed doors were rescuing you from counterfeit futures. You thought heartbreak meant destruction, but some heartbreaks removed people who could never carry your destiny with you. You thought waiting meant nothing was changing, but hidden transformation was already happening beneath the surface. Even now, your soul is becoming stronger than you realize, wiser than before, more discerning than before, more spiritually awake than before. The old version of you would not have survived the future prepared for you. That is why the process became necessary. And yes, sometimes the process felt lonely, because growth often happens in hidden places. But hidden does not mean abandoned. Remember Joseph, my child. He carried dreams from heaven, yet found himself betrayed, rejected, and thrown into a pit before ever reaching the palace. Imagine how impossible the promise must have seemed while sitting in darkness. Imagine how many times he questioned whether the dream was truly real. Yet the pit was not the end of the story. The prison was not the end of the story. Delay was not the end of the story. Preparation was happening. And my beloved, preparation is happening in your life too, right now. Even in places you still do not fully understand. There are pieces moving behind the scenes, people being aligned, doors being prepared, healing unfolding within your spirit. The version of you rising from this season will not resemble the fearful person who entered it, because suffering refined you, waiting deepened you, pain awakened parts of your soul that comfort never could. And one day soon, you will realize the dream did not die. It transformed into something deeper, stronger, more aligned with your true purpose. But listen carefully now. The enemy knows something is beginning to awaken inside you again. That is why fear keeps trying to return. That is why discouragement whispers louder whenever hope begins rising within your spirit. Because darkness is terrified of what happens when you finally believe again. Terrified of what happens when your soul remembers who you are. terrified of what happens when the buried dream begins breathing again. And my beloved child, that awakening has already started. Quietly, slowly, powerfully, the tears did not destroy your destiny. The delays did not cancel your future. And the dream you buried in pain is still alive in my hands. But what happens next is the part your enemies never expected. My beloved child, I know there are still names that hurt your heart when you remember them. People you trusted, people you loved sincerely, people you believed would stay beside you no matter what happened, yet somehow they still walked away. And even now, part of you continues replaying those moments in your mind. The unanswered messages, the sudden distance, the coldness that replaced closeness, the silence that arrived without explanation. You keep asking yourself what changed, what you did wrong, why people who once promised loyalty suddenly became strangers. And my child, I know how deeply that wounded you because you loved with honesty. You gave your time, your energy, your patience, your heart. You stayed when others would have left. You forgave more than people realized. You carried relationships on your shoulders long after they became heavy. And when those connections finally broke apart, something inside you broke too. But listen carefully tonight, my beloved. Not everyone who leaves your life is a loss. Some departures are divine redirections. As it is written, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Genesis 50:20. What you thought destroyed you, I was already preparing to use for your healing. My child, there are people who were assigned to only one chapter of your life, not your entire journey. But because your heart is loyal, you kept trying to force permanent connections out of temporary assignments. You kept praying for relationships to survive long after peace had already left them. You kept trying to save people who were slowly draining your spirit. You kept carrying emotional burdens that were never yours to carry alone. And eventually, your soul became exhausted, because love without peace becomes emotional captivity. But my beloved, I never created you to lose yourself trying to keep everyone else comfortable. Some people left because they could not grow where I was taking you. Some left because your healing exposed their darkness. Some left because they benefited from the wounded version of you, but became uncomfortable once you started changing. And yes, that truth hurts, because part of you still misses people who no longer align with your future. Part of you still longs for explanations, still wonders if reconciliation could have happened, still grieves what could have been. But hear me clearly now. If someone had to destroy your peace in order to stay in your life, their departure was necessary. My child, there were relationships you cried over that heaven had already released. You thought the separation meant your life was falling apart. But often, I was removing distractions before your breakthrough, because not everyone can follow you into your next season. Some people are connected to old versions of you that no longer exist. The fearful version, the insecure version, the version willing to settle for less than you deserved. But you are changing now, quietly, deeply, spiritually. And the more you heal, the more certain connections begin falling away naturally, not because you became unlovable, but because your spirit is no longer comfortable in places that dishonor your peace. My beloved child, you spent too much time blaming yourself for the behavior of wounded people. You apologized for being hurt. You over-explained your feelings. You carried guilt for problems you did not create. And slowly, rejection started shaping the way you saw yourself. You began wondering if you were too emotional, too sensitive, too difficult to love. But my child, your capacity to love deeply was never your weakness. Your weakness was believing you had to earn love by sacrificing your own peace. And that is what I am healing within you now. Because real love does not constantly leave you anxious. Real love does not repeatedly wound your spirit and call it normal. Real love does not disappear the moment life becomes difficult. I know some abandonments still echo painfully within your soul. The parent who failed you, the friend who betrayed you, the person who promised forever and then vanished, the people who only loved you when you were useful to them. You carry those memories quietly, and sometimes they still affect the way you trust others today. But listen carefully now, my beloved. Their inability to love you correctly was never proof that you were unworthy of love. It was proof of their own brokenness. You were measuring your value through the hands of people who were never healed enough to hold your heart properly. And because of that, you accepted pain that heaven never intended to become permanent. But that season is ending. You are no longer required to chase people who repeatedly choose distance from you. You are no longer required to beg for consistency. You are no longer required to shrink yourself just to keep others comfortable. Because the version of you rising now understands something important. Peace is holy, and anything constantly stealing your peace cannot remain forever. My child, some people left because they were attached to your wounds, not your purpose. They understood the broken version of you better than the healed version emerging now. Your healing challenged them. Your growth exposed them. Your awakening forced them to confront truths they wanted to avoid. So instead of growing with you, they withdrew from you, and yes, that hurt deeply, because part of you expected loyalty from people who were only comfortable while you remained wounded. But hear me now. Do not grieve too long over people who abandoned the assignment to love you correctly, because I am still preparing connections aligned with your future. People who bring peace instead of confusion. People who pray for your healing instead of feeding your insecurity. People who celebrate your growth instead of secretly resenting it. People who stay consistent when life becomes difficult. But before those connections fully arrive, you must stop reopening doors I already closed. My beloved child, there are conversations you keep replaying that are no longer connected to your future. There are people you continue missing who were only meant to teach you temporary lessons. There are memories you keep revisiting that are slowing down your healing. And tonight, I am asking you to release them, not because the pain was fake, not because the love was meaningless, but because your destiny cannot grow while your heart remains chained to old seasons. You cannot fully receive new peace while constantly grieving expired connections. And I know letting go feels difficult, because endings often feel like personal failure. But sometimes endings are acts of mercy. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers before reaching the palace. David was rejected before becoming king. Jesus himself was abandoned by people who once walked beside him. So why do you believe rejection means your life has lost purpose? My beloved, rejection often redirects people toward destiny. And the people who left your life created room for the people who are meant to arrive next. This separation is not destroying you, it is repositioning you. Even now, your spirit is learning discernment, learning boundaries, learning that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart, and that wisdom will protect your future in ways you cannot yet imagine. But listen closely now. The enemy hoped abandonment would make you hard-hearted. He hoped betrayal would make you stop trusting completely. He hoped heartbreak would convince you that isolation was safer than connection. But healing is still coming. Real love is still possible. Peaceful relationships still exist. And your story is not ending in loneliness. It is transitioning into wisdom, so release the guilt. Release the need for closure from people unwilling to give it. Release the burden of trying to understand every betrayal. Some answers only become clear with distance. And one day, my child, you will thank me for the people I removed. Because what I am preparing next requires room to grow. If you are ready to leave the past behind and step into healing, type yes in the comments and share this message with someone who is still grieving people God already removed from their life. Because what happens next is the moment your spirit finally begins changing from the inside out. My beloved child, tonight is different. Not because your entire life suddenly changed in a single moment. Not because every problem instantly disappeared. but because something deeper has started happening within you. Something quiet, something holy, something irreversible. Tonight, I begin changing you from the inside out. As it is written, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. My child, real transformation rarely begins where people can see it. It begins in hidden places, in thoughts, in wounds, in beliefs carried silently for years. And for a long time, your inner world has been exhausted. You survived externally while struggling internally. You kept functioning while secretly falling apart emotionally. You carried old pain into new seasons and called it strength. But survival is no longer enough for where I am leading you. I am not merely teaching you how to endure life. I am teaching you how to live again. That is why things have felt strange lately. Why old habits no longer satisfy you. Why certain environments suddenly drain you. Why your spirit has become restless in places where you once felt comfortable. Because the version of you built through fear can no longer survive the future I am preparing. You are changing, even now, quietly, deeply, spiritually, my beloved child. Transformation often begins with discomfort, because healing exposes what pain tried to hide. You are beginning to notice how much exhaustion you normalized, how much anxiety became part of your daily thinking, how much self-doubt shaped the way you viewed yourself. And now, your spirit is resisting those chains. You no longer want temporary distractions. You no longer want relationships built on inconsistency. You no longer want to live constantly overwhelmed and emotionally drained. Part of you still fears change, but another part of you knows you cannot keep living the old way anymore. That inner conflict you feel is not failure, it is awakening. The old version of you is slowly dying. The fearful version. The people-pleasing version. The version that accepted less than peace because loneliness felt scarier than pain. The version that kept shrinking itself just to avoid rejection. My child, I never created you to disappear inside your own life. I created you to walk in freedom. And freedom begins the moment truth enters the places fear once controlled. Listen carefully now. Transformation does not happen by pretending wounds never existed. It happens by finally allowing me into those wounded places. The memories you avoid, the disappointments you buried, the rejection you still carry quietly, the shame you never speak about. I am entering those places now, not to condemn you, not to shame you, but to heal you. My beloved child, there are lies you believed for so long that they started sounding like truth. You are not enough. You always ruin things. You will never fully heal. You are too broken. No one will truly stay. Those voices repeated themselves through pain until they became familiar. But familiar does not mean true. And tonight, I am breaking agreements you unknowingly made with fear. Because you cannot walk into peace while constantly speaking destruction over yourself. Do you understand? The battle was never only around your circumstances. The battle targeted your identity. Because if darkness could control how you saw yourself, it could control how you lived. That is why shame kept following you. Why comparison kept exhausting you. Why fear kept convincing you to stay small. But my beloved, you are not who your pain said you were. You are not who rejection said you were. You are not who betrayal made you believe you were. You are who I say you are, chosen, loved, seen, protected. And slowly, your spirit is beginning to remember that again. This transformation will not always feel dramatic. Sometimes healing feels like finally sleeping peacefully after months of anxiety. Sometimes it feels like no longer needing validation from people who ignored your worth. Sometimes it feels like silence no longer frightening you. Sometimes it feels like waking up and realizing you no longer hate yourself the way you once did. Healing often begins softly, quietly, like light entering a dark room little by little. And my child, that light is already entering your spirit now. You may still cry sometimes, you may still struggle some days, You may still feel moments of fear, but something is different now. The fear no longer owns you completely. The pain no longer defines you completely. The darkness no longer controls your entire identity. Because I am rebuilding you, and rebuilding takes time. A broken foundation cannot support a peaceful future. So before your outer life fully changes, your inner life must become stronger. That is why I am teaching you stillness, teaching you discernment, teaching you boundaries, teaching you how to stop abandoning yourself just to keep others comfortable. My beloved child, you spent years carrying emotional burdens that never belonged to you, trying to rescue everyone, trying to fix everything, trying to earn love through sacrifice. But I am teaching you now that peace is not selfish, rest is not weakness, and protecting your spirit is not wrong. You do not have to explain your healing to people committed to misunderstanding you. You do not have to stay in places destroying your mental and spiritual peace. And you do not have to keep apologizing for becoming who I created you to be. Because the more you heal, the more clearly you will see. You will begin noticing what drains your spirit, what manipulates your emotions, what pulls you away from peace. And slowly, you will stop entertaining things that once kept you trapped. My child, tonight marks the beginning of emotional freedom you once believed was impossible. Not perfect freedom overnight, but real transformation. The kind that changes how you think, how you love, how you see yourself, how you respond to pain, how you trust me. And yes, there will still be moments where the old version of you tries to return. Moments where fear whispers familiar lies again. Moments where anxiety tries to reclaim space inside your thoughts. But now you are becoming aware of the battle. And awareness changes everything, because you no longer believe every thought that enters your mind. You no longer allow every emotion to control your decisions. You are learning to recognize my voice beneath the noise, and my voice leads toward peace, always. As it is written, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27, my beloved child. The miracle beginning tonight is not only external, it is internal. I am healing your thinking, healing your identity, healing your relationship with yourself, healing the exhausted places within your soul. And one day soon, people will notice something different about you, not because you became louder, not because you became perfect, but because peace will begin resting on you differently. The same person who once lived overwhelmed by fear will suddenly carry quiet strength. The same person who once begged for love will walk confidently in self-worth. The same person who once felt emotionally shattered will become a source of healing for others. Because pain transformed through my hands becomes wisdom, and wisdom transformed through healing becomes light. But listen closely now, my beloved. As your spirit changes, heaven is also preparing something unexpected ahead of you. A door, an opportunity, a breakthrough you cannot yet fully see. And what happens next will reveal why this entire painful process was necessary from the very beginning. My beloved child, something is beginning to shift around your life. You may not fully see it yet. You may not completely understand it yet. But deep within your spirit, you can feel it. The heaviness is not the same anymore. The waiting is not the same anymore. The silence is not the same anymore, because a hidden door is beginning to open. As it is written, behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? In Isaiah 43:19, my child, there are blessings I prepared long before you ever reached this season of your life. Doors already assigned to your future, connections already aligned with your purpose, moments already written into your journey before you were even aware they existed. But because human eyes only see the present moment, you assumed nothing was happening. You mistook hidden preparation for abandonment. You mistook delay for denial. You mistook silence for absence. Yet all this time, heaven was arranging things beyond your understanding. My beloved, there are opportunities approaching your life that could not arrive until your spirit became ready to carry them. Because blessing without healing becomes self-destruction, and success without peace becomes emptiness. That is why I focused on your inner life first. Your character, your discernment, your emotional healing, your spiritual awakening. Because the next season requires a different version of you than the one who entered the wilderness. You are no longer the same person. The pain changed you. The waiting refined you. The heartbreak awakened wisdom inside you. And now, doors that once remained closed are beginning to respond differently to your presence. Not because you became perfect, but because transformation changed your spirit. My child, some doors were always meant to remain closed. You cried over them, begged for them, questioned yourself because of them. But had those doors opened, they would have led you away from the peace I was preparing. Not every open door comes from me, and not every closed door is rejection. Some closed doors are rescue missions in disguise. But now, there is a door ahead of you that carries peace instead of confusion, alignment instead of anxiety, purpose instead of emptiness. And though you cannot fully see it yet, your spirit already senses the shift beginning. That is why certain old environments suddenly feel uncomfortable. That is why old conversations no longer satisfy you. That is why distractions that once consumed your attention are losing power over you. Your soul is preparing for elevation. My beloved child, hidden doors rarely open with loud announcements. Sometimes they begin with subtle changes, a new opportunity, a new connection, a sudden moment of clarity, a deep feeling that you can no longer remain where you once were. And often, the greatest breakthroughs begin quietly, like dawn slowly entering darkness. You keep expecting transformation to appear dramatically, but many miracles begin invisibly before becoming visible. Even now, there are things moving behind the scenes for you, conversations happening you know nothing about, people being positioned, delays being removed, paths being cleared, and yes, spiritual resistance is still trying to convince you to stay afraid. Because fear knows what happens once you finally step through the door prepared for you. You will never be the same again. My child, there were seasons where you doubted your own future so deeply that you stopped planning ahead emotionally. You learned to expect disappointment before joy. You learned to protect yourself by imagining the worst. And slowly, survival became more familiar than expectation. But hear me clearly tonight. You cannot fully walk into new seasons while emotionally living in old pain. The hidden door ahead of you does not open through fear. It opens through trust. That does not mean you will suddenly have no uncertainty. It means you choose faith even while uncertainty still exists. My beloved, remember Peter stepping out onto the water. The storm still surrounded him. The wind still existed. The waves still moved violently around him. Yet the miracle began the moment he stepped forward despite fear. And my child, your next season requires movement, not perfection, not complete understanding, movement. There is a step you have been afraid to take, a decision delayed by overthinking, a healing you keep postponing, a part of your life where fear still whispers, stay where it is safe. But safety is not always peace. Sometimes what feels safe is simply familiar pain. And familiar pain keeps many souls trapped for years. But you are not being called backward anymore. You are being called forward, toward healing, toward purpose, toward freedom, toward the version of yourself heaven always saw beneath the wounds. My beloved child, some of you have been praying for confirmation while ignoring the transformation already happening within you. You asked for signs while your spirit was already changing. You asked whether doors would open while heaven was already repositioning your entire life. You thought breakthrough would only look external, money, relationships, success, opportunities, but the greatest breakthrough already started internally. You think differently now. You see differently now. You recognize unhealthy patterns more clearly now. You no longer crave the same chaos that once controlled you. That itself is evidence that transformation is happening. And now, the external world is slowly beginning to align with what has already shifted within you. My child, do not fear the unfamiliar season approaching. You prayed for change. But when change begins arriving, fear often tries convincing people to retreat. Do not retreat now. You survived too much to stop at the edge of your breakthrough. And yes, there will still be moments of uncertainty. Moments where old fears try returning. Moments where your mind questions whether you are truly ready. But readiness was never about having complete confidence in yourself. It was always about trusting me. Because I do not call you into places I refuse to walk beside you through. Listen carefully now. The hidden door opening before you is not only connected to opportunity, it is connected to identity. The next season will reveal who you truly are beneath survival mode, beneath fear, beneath shame, beneath emotional exhaustion. And people who once underestimated you will not recognize the peace resting on your spirit. Because healing changes a person differently than success ever could. My beloved child, you are entering a season where clarity begins replacing confusion, where peace begins replacing inner chaos, where alignment begins replacing forced striving. And though the process still feels incomplete, heaven is already moving. The door is already forming. The breakthrough is already unfolding, even now, quietly, powerfully, irreversibly. But listen closely. There is one thing you must not do when the blessing finally arrives. Because many people destroy their own peace the moment heaven starts answering their prayers. And what God reveals next may protect your future more than you realize. My beloved child, now that your spirit is beginning to awaken, now that healing has started moving within you, now that the hidden door is beginning to open, the resistance may suddenly feel stronger than before. Do not be afraid of this, and do not misunderstand it, because often the greatest spiritual attacks come right before breakthrough. As it is written, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." James 1:12. My child, the enemy knows he cannot stop what I have already ordained for your life, but he will still try to delay it through fear, through confusion, through discouragement, through emotional exhaustion. That is why some of you have recently felt waves of heaviness returning unexpectedly. Thoughts you thought were healed suddenly resurfacing, old fears whispering again, anxiety trying to reclaim your peace. You wondered, why is this happening now? But listen carefully. The resistance intensified because your spirit is moving closer to freedom. Darkness fights hardest when it realizes it is losing access to your mind. My beloved child, there are moments right before transformation where everything inside you feels conflicted. Part of you feels hope rising again, but another part still remembers every past disappointment. Part of you wants to trust, but another part fears being hurt again. Part of you senses breakthrough approaching, but another part expects everything to collapse the way it always did before. That internal battle has exhausted you lately, and the enemy hopes that exhaustion will make you quit before you fully step into your next season. Because if he can convince you to retreat now, he can keep you trapped in cycles you were already beginning to escape. But my beloved, do not retreat. You did not survive all those battles just to surrender at the edge of your breakthrough. Listen carefully tonight. The attack is not proof that you are losing. Sometimes the attack is proof that you are finally moving in the right direction. Think about it, my child. Why would darkness fight so hard over a life with no purpose? Why would fear keep targeting your mind if your future carried no significance? Why would the enemy spend years trying to destroy your confidence if there was nothing valuable within you? Because even your battles reveal something about your calling. The enemy attacks what threatens his control. and your healing threatens darkness more than you realize. A healed soul becomes dangerous to fear. A healed mind becomes difficult to manipulate. A healed spirit begins walking with authority instead of shame. And my child, that transformation has already begun inside you. That is why old chains are reacting. The insecurity, the fear of abandonment, the self-doubt, the emotional dependency, the hopeless thinking. All of it feels threatened because you are changing, quietly, deeply, permanently. But listen closely. This next battle is different from the ones before, because before you were fighting without understanding what was happening. Now your eyes are opening. Now you recognize the lies quicker. Now you recognize what drains your spirit. Now you notice when fear is trying to speak louder than truth. Awareness changes battles, because you no longer automatically believe every dark thought entering your mind. You are learning discernment, and discernment breaks deception. My beloved child, some of the attacks coming against you now are actually attempts to pull you back into old identities. The enemy wants the healed version of you to doubt itself. He wants you to reopen doors I already closed. He wants you to return to people who wounded your spirit. He wants you to sabotage your own peace because chaos feels more familiar than healing. And yes, part of you still feels tempted sometimes, because healing can feel unfamiliar at first. Peace can feel strange after years of emotional survival mode. Healthy boundaries can feel uncomfortable after constantly overextending yourself for others. But do not mistake unfamiliarity for wrongness. The new season feels different because you are different now. My beloved, there are also people who may not understand the transformation happening within you. Some will call your healing distance. Some will call your boundaries selfishness. Some will become uncomfortable because your growth exposes their unwillingness to grow themselves. And the enemy may use guilt to tempt you into shrinking yourself again, just to keep others comfortable. Do not do it. Do not abandon your healing to maintain unhealthy peace with wounded people. You prayed for freedom, now protect it. You prayed for clarity, now honor it. You prayed for transformation. Now stop apologizing for becoming who I created you to be. My child, the final attacks before breakthrough often look emotional rather than physical. Sudden discouragement, sudden loneliness, sudden temptation to isolate yourself, sudden fear that nothing is actually changing. And sometimes, the enemy will even use delay itself to wear down your faith, because he knows exhausted souls are easier to deceive. But hear me clearly tonight. You are closer than you think. Closer to healing, closer to peace, closer to clarity, closer to the breakthrough you cried for during your darkest nights. That is why fear keeps trying to become louder, because darkness senses time running out. My beloved child, remember Elijah. Right after one of his greatest victories, fear suddenly overwhelmed him so deeply that he wanted to run away and give up completely. Even powerful people experience moments of exhaustion. Even faithful people experience emotional battles, but exhaustion does not mean failure. And temporary fear does not cancel destiny. Do you understand? You keep judging yourself for still struggling sometimes. But healing is not the absence of battle. Healing is learning not to surrender to the battle anymore. And that is exactly what you are learning now. You may still feel fear, but you keep moving anyway. You may still feel uncertain, but you are still listening for my voice. You may still have difficult days, but you are no longer fully trapped inside darkness. That is growth, my child, real growth, my beloved. The enemy also fears what will happen once you fully realize your value, because people who know their worth stop settling for emotional chaos. People who know their worth stop begging for bare minimum love. People who know their worth stop building identity around rejection. And once your spirit fully awakens to who you are, entire cycles begin breaking. That is why the warfare increased. But hear this now, the attack is temporary. The breakthrough is lasting. The fear is temporary. The healing is lasting. The storm is temporary. The transformation is lasting. And even now, heaven is already strengthening you for what comes next. You are not fighting alone anymore. I am with you in every anxious moment, every sleepless night, every battle inside your thoughts, every moment where you feel too tired to continue. And my beloved child, you will survive this final resistance too, not because you are perfect, but because I am carrying you through it. So do not give up now. Do not return to old chains now. Do not let fear speak louder than the healing already unfolding within you. Because the next season approaching your life is bigger than the enemy expected you to survive long enough to reach. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, share it with someone who feels exhausted from fighting silent battles. And comment, "I will not give up." If you believe God is still working in your life, even through the struggle. Because what happens next is the moment God begins breaking cycles that existed long before you were born. My beloved child, there are battles in your life that did not begin with you, patterns that existed long before you were born, pain carried silently from one generation to another, fear passed down through wounded hearts, emotional burdens repeated so many times that people started calling them normal. But hear me clearly tonight. What repeated through generations will not continue forever through you, because I am raising you to break the cycle. As it is written, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. My child, some of you grew up surrounded by heaviness without fully understanding why. Homes filled with tension, words filled with criticism, love that felt inconsistent, peace that never lasted long. You learned survival before you learned rest. You learned anxiety before you learned safety. You learned how to emotionally protect yourself long before you understood what healing even meant. And slowly, those wounds shaped the way you saw yourself, the way you loved, the way you trusted, the way you expected life to unfold. Some of you inherited fear without realizing it. Fear of abandonment, fear of failure, fear of intimacy, fear of rejection, fear of never being enough. And because those fears repeated for so long, you started believing they were simply part of who you are. But my beloved, inherited pain is not your identity. You were not born merely to repeat suffering. You were born to transform it. Do you understand now why the battle around your life became so intense? Because generational chains resist being broken. The moment someone begins healing, the moment someone begins awakening, the moment someone refuses to continue repeating destruction, darkness reacts. That is why your life often felt heavier than others seem to experience. You were not only fighting for yourself, you were confronting patterns that existed long before you arrived here. Patterns of emotional brokenness, patterns of silence, patterns of self-hatred, patterns of settling for unhealthy love, patterns of fear disguised as normal behavior. And my beloved child, heaven chose you to interrupt those cycles, not because you are stronger than everyone else, but because I placed something inside your spirit capable of healing what wounded generations before you. Even now, you are becoming the answer to prayers spoken before you were born. You are becoming the person who finally says, "The pain stops here." My child, I know how exhausting it has been carrying emotional weight you could never fully explain. Sometimes you felt different from the people around you, more sensitive, more aware, more emotionally burdened. And because others could not always understand your depth, you often felt isolated. But that sensitivity was not weakness, it was awareness. Your spirit recognized brokenness, even when others learned to normalize it. You saw patterns others ignored. You felt wounds others avoided discussing. And slowly, I began awakening you to truths your family line never fully confronted. Because healing begins when truth is finally acknowledged. My beloved, some of the loneliness you experienced came from becoming different. When one person begins healing inside a wounded environment, tension often follows. People comfortable with dysfunction may resist your transformation. Some will misunderstand your boundaries. Some will resent your growth. Some will accuse you of changing. And they are right. You are changing because the healed version of you can no longer fully participate in cycles that once destroyed your peace. You are learning to communicate differently, love differently, think differently, respond differently. And though the process feels uncomfortable, it is holy. Because cycles only break when someone chooses healing over familiarity. My child, generational pain often whispers lies that become deeply rooted over time. No one in this family succeeds. Love never lasts. People always leave. We will always struggle. This is just how life is. But tonight, I am breaking those agreements inside your spirit, because your future is not limited by the wounds that came before you. You are not trapped inside the story of past generations. I am writing something new through your life, something healed, something peaceful, something free. Listen carefully now. The enemy wanted you to become so emotionally exhausted that you would continue repeating the same cycles unconsciously. Choosing the same unhealthy relationships, carrying the same fears, passing the same pain forward. But your awakening disrupted that pattern. That is why your healing matters so deeply, because when one soul truly heals, entire future generations are affected. The peace you fight for now may become the peace your future children never have to fight for later. The emotional freedom you build now may protect lives you have not even met yet. Do you see how significant your healing really is? This is bigger than one season of pain, bigger than one heartbreak, bigger than one battle. Heaven is restoring an entire lineage through your obedience to healing. My beloved child, there were moments you almost gave up because the process felt too heavy. Moments where you wondered why life seemed harder for you than for others. Moments where emotional exhaustion made you question your purpose entirely. But now you are beginning to understand why your spirit could never fully settle into dysfunction, why chaos eventually became unbearable, why your soul kept longing for something deeper. It was because I was calling you out of survival mode, out of inherited fear, out of emotional captivity, and into freedom, real freedom. The kind your family line may have never fully experienced before. My child, do not feel guilty for outgrowing environments that damaged your spirit. Do not apologize for protecting your peace. Do not shrink your healing just to remain accepted by wounded people unwilling to change. Because your obedience to healing is sacred. And though others may not understand it now, one day they may recognize that your transformation became the beginning of restoration for many others too. My beloved, you are not cursed. You are called to heal, called to awaken, called to bring light into places where darkness repeated itself for generations. And yes, the responsibility feels heavy sometimes, but you are not carrying it alone. I am walking beside you through every step of this transformation. Every boundary you struggle to set, every painful truth you are learning to face, every old pattern you are trying not to repeat. Every moment where healing feels lonely, I am with you. And heaven is strengthening you even now, because the cycles breaking in your life will create room for blessings your family line has never fully seen before. Peace, stability, healthy love, spiritual clarity, emotional freedom, joy without constant fear of losing it. And my beloved child, this transformation has already begun. Quietly, powerfully, irreversibly, the chains are weakening, the old patterns are losing power, and the version of you rising from this season will carry wisdom your past generations prayed for but never fully reached. But listen closely now. Before the breakthrough fully manifests, there is still one final surrender heaven is asking from you. And what God reveals next may finally free your heart from the burden of trying to control everything alone.